I speak to people all the time and they go, I can't do this because of my age, because of my gender, because of my sexual preference, because I've got hair, because I've got no hair, because of my accent, because of where I was born, because of the colour of my skin, because of the school I went to or didn't go to. People are carrying all of that all of the time. And the thing I would say to the young me, and I'd also say to other people here, is recognise your limiting beliefs and recognise what you've already done to overcome them.
Welcome to the Spartan Deca series on Spartan Up with Jared Cogswell, Director of Sport, and Yancey Culp, Director of Programming.
What's up, Spartans? Welcome to the DEKA series on the Spartan Up podcast. I'm your co-host, Jared Cogswell, along with my brother, Yancey Culp. And today, our guest is the retention guru himself, Dr. Paul Bedford.
Today's episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Nutrafol, clinically shown to improve hair growth and thickness naturally. Go to Nutrafol.com and enter the code SPARTAN to save $15 off your first month's subscription. That's Nutrafol.com and the code SPARTAN.
What's up, my brother?
Oh, man. Crazy week, dude. 7 events across the freaking country. New York, California, Indiana. It hit me that at 7 locations across the country, people were training and testing with purpose, celebrating fitness inside our affiliate gyms. And I kind of look back on some of the stuff that we played a role in helping create this awesome mission, man. And it hit home over the weekend. It really did.
Well, you know what's awesome about it is I was looking at the stats over the weekend, and here you have, 7 of our hundreds of affiliates across not just the country, but in Puerto Rico that are providing training with a purpose, and then they're all out there celebrating fitness. So we had over 500 participants last weekend earn their DEKA marks. And you know what? I wanted to take a time out because right here, Colfax Strong, okay, this is my home gym here in Denver, Colorado. They're going to be hosting the DEKA Mile. They're one of our affiliates on September 11th. And what I'm really excited about this is for people to experience this awesome gym. It's wide open. The coaching's awesome. It's friendly. It's got a great culture. It's clean. We love clean gyms. But the other thing we've got going on is the Hammer, Ryan Kent, is going to be attempting once again one of the world records when it comes to these DEKA events in our DEKA Mile. He's gunning for it, but not only is he going for the record, he's saying if you can beat him, you're going to get $1,000, $1,000 if you can beat Ryan Kent.
Listen, folks, here's the deal. We've had a ton of DEKA Strong, DEKA Mile, and DEKA Fit events now. And the bigger, stronger, more powerful athletes, we see them owning that leaderboard on DEKA Strong. A little more of the pure runner, some of the smaller stature people owning DEKA Fit, and then kind of a mixed bag in the middle with DEKA Mile. Kent is one of the few athletes walking the planet. He's trying to set the world record in all 3, and he may be one of the few walking the planet that could actually have a chance of doing it. He just missed setting the DEKA Strong world record by 5 seconds 2 weeks ago. So he's going after the mile at your home gym, brother.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. And speaking of gyms and the fitness industry, I'm really excited about today's guest, Dr. Paul Bedford. He's, I've known Paul for over 20 plus years. I've got nothing but the utmost respect for Paul. He's a veteran fitness professional himself. He's an expert in exercise and health behavior. I mean, he's studied it deeply, and we've known this because Paul's spoken to our affiliates as well recently, and he's helped thousands of gym owners on improving member retention and customer loyalty. I think overall, he's just helped the fitness industry improve the mission of exercise adherence, which really is the biggest challenge within our industry, is to keep people engaged, keep them motivated, keep them disciplined so that they can be the best version of themselves. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome the retention guru, Dr. Paul Bedford.
Thank you, Jared. Nice to hear from you. And good to see you as well again, Yancey.
Thank you, sir. Listen, Paul, Jared loves when I mention this. You know, together we've got 50 plus years. We're old coaches, group fitness, personal training, everything in between. We're probably been inside 3,000 or 4,000 gyms. Jared's own gyms, general manager of gyms. We've been around fitness a long time. One of your famous quotes, and actually, let me back up. As a coach, we're always trying to crack the code of, how can we, there's so many people that aren't taking fitness serious. There's actually a very small percentage that do. And we're always trying to crack the code. Like, how can we reach them? What's the magic? One thing, and I call this probably one of your most famous quotes. It's one that I really dove in on, is if we don't get their head, you're not going to get their body. Expand upon that, my friend.
Yeah, it started off, it's a paraphrase of Muhammad Ali. Take out the head, you take out the body. Or take out the body, you can take out the head. It was one of those boxing phrases that he used. And when I heard it one time, and I just thought, actually, it's my head that decides whether I'm going to train today. It's my head that decides how hard I'm going to train. It's my head that makes all those decisions about my nutrition and my lifestyle behaviours. And my body just follows that. My body's just the vehicle that carries my brain to a location and takes me through the process. And, a lot of, I spent my early career as a fitness instructor and personal trainer writing programs. And I was always writing these programs thinking, this is the best program for the person. This is a really precise, it's either right because of the volume and load, or it's correct because of the heart rate range. But I couldn't keep people sticking to them. And I'm thinking, it's got nothing to do with the training program. It's got all to do with their head. And so it really was the sort of one of the early reasons I sort of stepped out of training people and started studying psychology, because I wanted to understand what goes on up here. And if I can change what goes on up here, I can change everything else.
Well, Paul, you already answered my first question to you, how this became your life's work. But you bring up an interesting point, because we talk about this quite a bit. There's some unbelievable trainers out there, personal trainers, strength and conditioning coaches. But I like to differentiate, the term coach and trainer. I feel like some of the best coaches out there, they can train, they can educate just like the best trainers can. But the best coaches, when they put that hat on, they're also able to motivate and inspire to keep people coming back, keep people engaged. What's your take on the difference between coaching and training?
Well, sometimes I'd even go further than that, because we talk about instructors. And I go back to sort of the literal terms. An instructor gives instructions, a coach coaches people, and a trainer trains people. And that's how, in my mind, I separate them out. And a coach can work with multiple people at multiple levels. That's why you have a head coach. That's why you have a defensive coach and an offensive coach in football, because they have different responsibilities and roles. Whereas for me, a trainer is the person who actually maybe stands over the person while they're working out and makes sure they go through the workout, particularly if they're more inclined to be driven. And obviously we apply that term to personal trainer, the person who drives that behavior. I think motivation, you have to be mindful of motivation. There's lots of different things that motivate different people. And I know on one of your previous podcasts, you looked into, the why, what's someone's why. I do something similar. I use a different term, but I'd also think about, just to give you an example, I look at motivation. Does the person is the person motivated by doing the same thing every workout, or are they motivated by doing something different? Because I'm pretty much sameness. When I go to the gym and work out, I pretty much want to do the same workout or the similar exercises each and every time. I'm not fascinated and I'm not driven by lots of variety and lots of change. Every now and again I want something different, but when it comes to my training with my weights, I want to do the same exercises. Now, if you're a coach or a trainer and you're working with me and you keep giving me variety, we're not going to spend very long together, because I'm going to sort of default back to what I actually enjoy, even if the variety is necessary. So I'll accommodate some level of variety, but not a huge amount. But if I'm the opposite and I'm driven by variety and I'm encouraged to do the same thing again and again and again, I'd get bored really quickly and I'd stop exercising either completely or with that coach trainer. So I've got a different, I think I've got the same take on it possibly as you in terms of those terminology. And then when it comes to motivation, I'm looking at lots of different things that will motivate people.
Does confidence come into play with that, Paul? By doing the same things that more on a consistent basis, is that a driver for you because it's something that you're good at?
Yeah, but it's good and I enjoy it. So over time, I've become good at the particular exercises. And so that gives me the confidence to do it. Now, I'm also, I can teach Group X. It's really ugly to watch in terms of my movement quality, but I can teach Group X, but I don't enjoy Group X. And, if I just talk about myself for a second, when I lift weights, I want to be in the gym. I want to lift I predominantly do resistance work on machines and some free weights. I also like to train with my training partner. So we like to train together. When it comes to cardio, I split my cardio into two things. One, I go and ride my mountain bike. So I'm outside exercising. Secondly, I stay at home and I will get on an exercise bike and do a Peloton class. Now, would I go to a studio and do a spinning class? No. That doesn't motivate me. That doesn't enjoy me. I'm more happy to do that element of my training at home. So I think to sort of try and compartmentalise all training into, say, bricks and mortar or virtual, it might lead us down the wrong path with some of our clients and some of the people we're training. Because in different contexts, my motivation is different. So my motivation isn't the same in every context.
Oh man! So for somebody that's been coaching for 25 years, you learn a few things, and I've probably got a lot more to learn. But one thing that I learned over the years, and you bring this up at some point in time when you talk about your famous 10 bullet points when you're working with gyms, and when I create a program, and I know programming is one of your key ones, when you create a program, you need to have the balance. If I say, hey, we got to dive in head first and go 6-7 days a week, I'm setting I know because I've learned, because I used to do that, I've set my client up for failure. Yeah, and if you talk about visits, if you only come zero, or if you come one time a week, there's a good chance there's not going to be a level of engagement. Talk about that balance and the presentation. Maybe not even looking from a gym perspective, but somebody just communicating with somebody to try to get them engaged in fitness.
Yeah. Well, look, let me start with the World Health Organization's guidelines on physical activity. They're tried and trusted. We know that if you do that volume of exercise or physical activity, you will get health benefits. You may get fitness benefits. However, for me, the whole sentence should be prefixed with build up to 3 times a week, build up to 60 minutes, build up to moderate to vigorous activity. Because if you put it in front of somebody as the starting point, think of how many Americans will go, if you said to them you need to find 3 hours a week for the actual training to exercise, where are you going to fit those 3 hours a week in? And almost, if you can't do those 3 hours, it's not worth doing. How many of them are going to go, oh, well, I can't, so it's not worth doing? Whereas I think we should start using the terminology build up to. Where we're trying to get you, if you're non-exercising, you're not physically active, is we want to get you up to 3 times a week of 60 minutes. Now, a lot of, when I do my top 10 factors, the first 3, visits, interaction, programming, as you're highlighted, if they're visiting once a week, is that sufficient to get a training load to change what they do, change their physiology, their anatomy? No. I know that. We all know that. but it's enough to get them started. It's one of the things, it's enough to actually in them mentally to go, I've done something good for myself this week. Now, usually that happens on a Monday or Tuesday after they've been abusing themselves over the weekend. So the weekend, it's anything goes. Monday, it's like, I need to hit the gym or I need to work out because I need to do some payback for the bad behaviour at the weekend. Once they've done some of that payback, they might get back in on a Wednesday. But by the time they're getting closer to the weekend, they're thinking, it's the weekend's coming, here we go again. So to start with, I think we have to think about building people up over time. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that, and I probably should diagram this in some way, I'm going to try and describe it. We almost talk about the health and fitness industry as one homogenous organisation business, but we talk about the inactive in the same way. Yet if you broke down the fitness business, the health club industry, fitness and exercise, you've got studios, you've got training outside, you've got training with a trainer outside, you've got training on your own, you've got training from home, you've got training in bricks and mortar, and you've got all of these, and they require different things. On the non-exerciser side, or the inactive side, there's not one group of inactive. That 80% don't all look the same. That 80% is made up with, there'll be people in that group who are naturally gifted athletes who've almost never exercised. And then they're also within that group, you've got people who've got chronic medical conditions who exercise might actually be detrimental to their health. So I think we have to be mindful that, I'm always going to promote visits or actions, doing a session. And the programming should be designed to help people build success over time. And, see, I've done it the same, man. I used to write programs that, would kill an elephant. But I thought that was the right program to give somebody. And when they didn't do it, I was surprised they didn't do it. But perhaps I was asking too much.
Yeah.
I've never done that to anybody.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah. Oh, I used to, when I was a young trainer, if you could barely walk the next day, I thought I did my job. And I didn't realize the damage that I was actually doing to somebody's psyche, not just to what I was doing to them physically. Paul, you mentioned that, and it really makes me think about, what we're doing with DEKA. What we call it is training with a purpose. So not only do you test yourself with that time and the commitment and sometimes even the sacrifice that you put into yourself to be better physically, mentally, and emotionally, but it's an opportunity to celebrate your fitness, to get rewarded, whether that's internally or externally.
We'll be right back to this interview, but first a message from today's sponsor, Nutrafol. Nutrafol is physician-formulated to be 100% drug-free. That's why they're on our show. They use natural, medical-grade botanicals in consistently effective dosages so that you get the most reliable results. When it comes to thinning hair, you do not have to choose between natural remedies and remedies that work. Nutrafol is a holistic solution, and it promotes healthier hair and a whole-body wellness without drugs or prescriptions. Nutrafol is the hair supplement that goes beyond genetics, and it targets stress, hormones, nutrition, metabolism, and environmental factors that could be impacting your hair. You can grow thicker hair by going to Nutrafol.com and entering the promo code SPARTAN. You'll save $15 off your first month's subscription. This is their best offer anywhere, and it's only available to U.S. customers for a limited time. So one more time, that's Nutrafol.com, Nutrafol.com, and use the code SPARTAN to save that $15.
Tell us about, I guess, the importance, because I think the good coaches, they recognize the little things, the little steps of progress. We talk about the mantra out there, especially in the social media world. We talk about 1% better every day. And some people say, 1%, that's nothing. But 1% could be a lot to somebody that's been going backwards every single day, especially when they've been going backwards physically. And right now, it just seems like so much more important, not just to be focused on the physical side, but also on the mental and emotional side. And that's what exercise is doing for us. It's helping us get 1% better in every area. What would you say to coaches? What would you say to coaches that they have to do? Like, what are some 3 essential skills that they need to bring to their clients to keep them on track to get 1% better every day?
Okay, so I would focus on one area, but in applying it in perhaps 3 or 4 different ways. The area is feedback, giving feedback. We know that when feedback is personalized to the client, that they are much more, they could be 10% more likely to stick to their exercise program. But in terms of feedback, you have to start being really specific. Feedback on skill acquisition. What have they learned, skill-wise? And what have they added to their skills? Feedback on technique in terms of performance. How's their technique doing? Feedback on sort of effort. The amount of effort that's gone into a training session. So you may not have learned a new exercise, a new set. You may not have added any more skills, but today you just put more effort in. And the 4th one, and this goes back to my top 10, feedback on attendance. Mm-hmm. So, we just turning up can still be seen as a positive, even if you did the same workout with the same exercises with the same effort you did last week. Now you've done 2 of them. Let's see if we can get you to do a 3rd one. So I think feeding back personalised feedback has much bigger impact than just sort of saying, and I know we love to do it, like, good job, well done, hang in there. All those sort of motivational statements. Get more precise. Get much more precise with your feedback. Your technique on, the slam ball. You're almost perfect. We tend to feed back on technique when it's poor, not always when it's good. We don't catch people doing things right frequently enough. So I think giving feedback, focus on those 4 areas.
I like that.
Man, so you kind of stole a little piece of my question, but I got to present it anyway because I loved how I was going through this in my head. So 1990. YMCA, we got the long hair. You just stepped away from plumber's career. Now you're coaching. Take a minute, and this is where JC, what you just gave, the answer you gave JC ties in a little bit, but take a minute and give that Paul Bedford 31 years ago, oh my gosh, dude, I've learned this over these 30 years. We're coming back. We're a personal trainer again. This is what you got to do, Paul, on top of the skills you just gave us.
Yeah, I think, let me try. I'm trying to think I for a long time, and I don't say this very often. I share it sometimes when I'm doing workshops. I left school at 14, not being able to read and write. I went and worked in a factory. If you've ever had Xerox paper wrapped in a ream of paper, 500, that used to be done by hand, and I used to do that. Wrap those, that's what I do all day long. From a pallet of unwrapped cut paper to wrapped with labels. That was my life. I did learn to read and write, obviously. My mother paid for someone to teach me to read and write, but I was never really academically focused until I came into the fitness industry. But I carried a limiting belief, and I think the thing that a lot of people do is they carry these limiting beliefs. And I carried a limiting belief that was, people like me, but they think I'm stupid. And I thought I was getting increases in, I was getting more clients, I was becoming more productive, more successful at each level that I was working at. But I thought it was just because people liked me, but I still thought they thought I was thick. And I think that was one of the things that drove me to study for my master's degrees, my PhD, and all the other things that I put into. And it's probably the reason why there are so many books, that I read and read again and again and again, because I had this limiting belief for a long time, I'm not good enough. And I think if I look back now to, me when I first came into the industry, and when I was first asked to get involved in training people, I was like, I was good enough. I'm being asked because I have the capability. And I'm continually asked, can you do this? Can you do this? And I'm constantly driving myself. It's probably the chip on my shoulder that is, while I've accepted I am good enough, they don't just give away PhDs because they like you. It's really made me step back and go, what are the limiting beliefs that I carry that stop me going further forward? Because, I speak to people all the time and they go, I can't do this because of my age, because of my gender, because of my sexual preference, because I've got hair, because I've got no hair, because of my accent, because of where I was born, because of the colour of my skin, because of the school I went to or didn't go to. People are carrying all of that all of the time. And the thing I would say to the young me, and I'd also say to other people here, is recognise your limiting beliefs and recognise what you've already done to overcome them.
Paul, we always have mic drops. And that was a mic drop. And I'm going to say that touched me in a very emotional way. Because, and I'm going to, every listener and viewer right now, I want you to pause for a second. That was authentically genuine. And that's Paul 31 years saying that right now, 31 years later, he wasn't having that conversation with the client, right? He wasn't, when you share something like that with a client, there is a bond or an employee or whatever. When you share something like that, there is a bond that's created forever. And just being graciously authentic. And I appreciate you sharing that, man. That touched me in a unique way, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah. It's
You're
a reminder
welcome.
too, Paul. I look back at my start in fitness and had no idea the impact that we could have on people through fitness. And I was just a number counter back in the day, and then you realize that when you can touch somebody emotionally and build somebody out from the inside out, that's the power of fitness. And you know it better than anybody because you've been researching this and studying it for obviously years and years. Let's talk real quick about exercise versus training. And I bring this up, Paul, because Yancey and I have talked about this quite a bit. We don't even like the word exercise. We feel like it's always had a negative connotation to it, and I won't get into all that, but it takes too much time to, sometimes it's painful and so forth, but we also believe that we're all playing this game called life, and we're all athletes to some degree in this game called life. So we really talk about training versus exercise. What's your take on the difference between exercise and training?
I think you can exercise without a specific goal and without a specific outcome in mind. I think training is when you then start to narrow it down into, I'm trying to achieve something here. Now, again, I'm going to reflect just briefly back on my time when I was with the YMCA and I was training people. We had a guy come in one time and he really had an impact on me back then. And he was in his 70s and he used to ride his Strand Cruiser basically to the gym. He'd come in and he said to me one day, Paul, he said, I need a new workout. I've been doing the same workout for the last 10 years. And I'm like, Bob, what? And he went, yeah. He goes, I come in Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I lift, I do 3 sets of 10 on bench, 3 sets of 10 on pull down. He had this workout and he was lifting the same weights for 10 years. And I said to him, he said, I'm a bit bored. And I'm thinking, boredom threshold must be huge. And I said, so what is it you're doing? And in my mind is flying because I'm thinking, we can do this. Every exercise variation under the sun of what he's already doing, and then some. And I said, so what is it you're looking to do? And he said, oh, Paul, my goal's always been the same. I want to be as fit at 80 as I was at 60. He said, because I'm certainly as fit at 70 as I was at 60, because I want the same in 10 years. And I suddenly realised that progress doesn't always mean more. Progress can sometimes, as you age, mean the same. And I think it's really important to get clear from the client what they want, and then you come up with a training program. In the Nordic countries, they talk about going to training. They don't go, we're going to work out. The literal translation of what they describe is going to training. My daughter uses the term, she goes, I'm going to go training. And she does a bit of skipping in the garden. I think the language of exercise, or the term exercise, has been used so broadly, and it's defined again within the World Health Organization as working out at a significant level for a set period of time to induce more than just health benefits. Now, certainly the top people who I'm guessing are listening on this are doing things for much more than just health benefits. It's like they want sense of achievement, they want sense of accomplishment, they want to push and possibly punish their bodies. They want much more, and some of them want recognition for that and others do not. But I think exercise is almost like the weakest term you can describe or use to describe someone going through a workout but without an outcome. There's no out bit. It's a workout, but there's no outcome to that.
I like that.
What's up, folks? Hope you enjoyed the episode with Dr. Paul Bedford. You can check him out at retentionguru.com.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the DEKA series on Spartan Up podcast. Spartan Up is your partner in resilience for mind, body, and spirit. We're here 3 days every week. Tuesdays, you can find Joe DeSena, founder and CEO of Spartan, interviewing biohackers, business leaders, authors, and athletes. Thursdays and Saturdays, catch episodes from our DEKA, Endurance, Trail, Combat, and Laruta series. Do you know someone who needs a little nudge? Maybe they could use some motivation, tactics to be stronger, healthier, happier, more successful. Tell them about our show. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment. We want to know who's watching and who's listening. Thanks. See you next time. Today's episode of Spartan Up is brought to you by Nutrafol, clinically shown to improve hair growth and thickness naturally. Go to Nutrafol.com and enter the code SPARTAN to save $15 off your first month's subscription. That's Nutrafol.com and the code SPARTAN.